Hi, everybody. My name is Juhi Alvi Jawahar. I am a learning behavioral specialist and a BCBA, and I am the clinical director for BASIS, Behavior and Special Educational Services International. And today I have a very, very special friend and a very special guest, Dr. Nasir
Yes.
Surinsi. Now you have to correct me.
Okay.
Who's
It's Nasir Sarencioni Uwazi.
Uzi, yes, and I apologize. I
That's
tried my
okay.
best to do that,
That
but
is
I am so excited to have her on my show today. She is one of my really, really good friends, and she's my mentor also, and she has taught me a lot in the field of early intervention services, and she is the one who introduced me to it. She's my mentor, and I look up to her for many things. So there
thank
she
you.
is, and I'm going to first of all ask her to introduce herself to me. So please introduce yourself to us.
Absolutely. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me on. And it's such a reciprocal relationship because as much as I'm able to give you, you give it back to me. And I thank you for mentoring me and sharing your knowledge and skills with me. Javahar, I really appreciate it. But again, I'm Dr. Nasir Sarencioni Uwazi. I too, like Ms. Javahar, I am a learning behavioral specialist and also a BCBA.
So would you like to tell us a little? I think that I just go on and on about what I do, but just tell us a little bit. I think a lot of people that are sitting over here, they are going to be from all over the world. So, because
Okay.
we've done a lot of work globally, so people are probably watching us, Pakistan, India, Bahrain, Kuwait. We
Wow.
have some in Saudi Arabia, and then we have some in Dubai.
Exciting.
So I've been getting like messages from everywhere. Today I got a message from a mom who is in one of the suburbs of Pakistan, and she wanted me she had some questions for me, and I'm like, okay, well, let's do a meeting, so we're trying to bring things to different parts of the world.
Yes.
So could you explain a little bit more about, a lot of people know what a BCBA is because, that part of the world is getting that, but could
Yes.
you explain a little bit more about what is an LBS1 or a learning behavioral specialist?
Absolutely. Here in Illinois, in the United States where I live, a learning behavioral specialist is the term we use for a special educator.
Mhm.
So I'm no longer working in that capacity. I have that credential. That's where I started my career. But as a special educator, I was responsible for programming for and teaching children who had a variety of disabilities. I've worked with children who've had learning disabilities, behavior disorders, autism. It was my role in the schools with that credential to program for them and make sure that their educational needs were met.
Mm-hmm. How long have you worked in the school setting, Dr. Nasia?
Well, actually now, what I'm doing now, well, I started off as a teacher. I was credentialed. I'm going to date myself, but I have to do it. I was credentialed back in 1996.
Oh my
That's when I became a special education teacher.
Oh my goodness. That
Yes,
is a
yes.
long
I'm sure there are people
ago.
out there who were not even born at that time, but that's when I was credentialed.
Okay.
Now, I left the classroom as a teacher in 2003,
Okay.
and I became a developmental therapist.
Mm-hmm.
And currently, I'm still connected with the schools as a behavior analyst and as a consultant.
Okay.
So at this point in my career, I'm not the classroom teacher anymore, but I'm consulting with administrators at this point and teachers to help them, to give them the information and knowledge they need to meet the needs of their unique learners.
Okay. So, wow, 96. Okay. All right.
Oh, it
Okay.
feels such a long time ago.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So you also have a doctorate in educational leadership, right?
Yes, actually, my doctorate is in curriculum and instruction. I
Oh,
have two masters, one master's in special education, the other one is in educational leadership.
wow.
So my career, I'm looking now, 2020 uh, marks my 30th year in the field.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I started off as a direct service professional way back in 1990.
Okay.
I've been at this a long time.
Okay. Well, I have a long way to go. Big shoes to fill. All right. Okay. So tell me now, your doctorate is in curriculum, right?
Yes.
So just tell us a little bit about curriculum. Curriculum is regular ed curriculum, special ed curriculum.
Yes. So
Or
curriculum,
dissertation.
really, it's anything.
Mhm.
So what I became very well versed in is designing courses, designing content for a variety of topics. As you know, I do a lot of training, and my trainings are in the area of special education, general education, a variety of disabilities. My particular skill set is being able to take content and develop curriculum for learners, whether that be children, adults, professionals. That's what my doctorate training allowed me to do.
Okay. And what year was your doctorate in?
I got my doctorate, I completed my doctorate in 2005.
Oh my God.
Long time ago.
Yeah, that's when I started my second master's, which was at Dominican.
Yes.
So, wow.
Yes.
That's when you completed, right?
That is when I completed it. I've had my doctorate from Loyola University of Chicago since 2005.
Okay.
And you know, my career has not been linear. My career has taken all sorts of twists and turns, as many of us do during the course of a career as long as mine. So I did not go straight from, bachelor's, master's. I went bachelor's, master's, doctorate, another master's, and then the BCBA credential.
Well, we both have a lot in common.
We do. That's why we're such good friends.
We are both women of color, and we're both, we are so career oriented, and we're all over everything. And now I just started my doctorate, so I also have 2 masters.
Yes.
But my career has not been linear. So I had my master's in English, and then I came here, and I never thought I'm going to go back to school, but I went back. I finished first I got a diploma in early childhood, then I went for MS in special ed, and then I went for BCBA. Then I did half my doctorate in clinical psychology, and I left it because I wasn't digging it. And then I'm like, oh man, I gotta go back now again. So I went back for my PhD. Now, hopefully, fingers crossed, I'll finish it.
Amazing.
Yeah, but it's like, we have a lot in common, and
we do.
And now if people tell us that we don't know what we're doing, we've really spent a lot of money on our education. So I think that here we are. And I wanted to congratulate you that your one of your research, your manual was accepted for the APBA, which is the applied Professional Behavior Analytic Council. So could you tell us a little bit about that? And then we'll go into what EI is. And
Absolutely. I hit a couple of really big milestones this year. One of them was an article, an article that I wrote, some research that I did, was recently published, accepted for publication in the Journal of Applied Behavioral Analysis and Practice. And that journal is widely read really across the globe.
Mhm.
The article addressed specifically Black women and their access to leadership roles within the field of applied behavior analysis. As you know, it's our field is really dominated by women. However, the field still, the leadership roles within our field are still primarily held by white men. So in my research, what I did was I identified specific barriers. And one of the barriers is, at the time that I initially started the research, the BACB was not collecting demographic data on race. Now, I just renewed my credential back in February, and I noticed that they're now starting to ask, what ethnicity are you? What race are you? Because that information matters. That information will help us further drill down on what the barriers are that really keep Black women and women of color in general from leadership roles in this field. Now, my second milestone was, and you helped me with this, and I thank you so much for your help, when we were accepted, when our work was accepted to be presented at the Association for Professional Behavior Analysts, the annual conference. Now, unfortunately, due to COVID-19, the conference was canceled, but it still enabled us to put out a body of work and content that so needs to be addressed within our field. And I actually look forward to really disseminating that project in other arenas. So we didn't get to go there, so maybe we'll get a chance to go back next year.
Hey, we just started.
That's right. That's right.
We're all over here. We're going to get a lot accomplished. Okay, now, so would you like to tell us about, and basically, so I'm a big advocate of empowering the parents, because the areas like in America, when we work, we do have insurance, we have Medicaid, and you know, we know that Medicaid is not covering ABA in the state of Illinois, but private insurances are. But you know, in different countries, we don't have that model. So my whole concern is how we can empower parents to help their children become more successful. And some of the episodes that I've done are in regards to teaching pivotal behaviors, and you know, how to work with the parents and families, and how to identify English as a second language learners, how we can identify them. So why I had you was because, as you're my mentor for early intervention, so I wanted you to talk a little bit about what is early intervention, and then later on we'll go into the depth of it, that how can parents be involved in it. So if you would like to introduce that to us, that would be
Absolutely. So early intervention is really, it's a federally mandated program. It falls under IDEA, the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, Part C. So this specific mandate is for birth through age 3 for families of young children. Okay. So the program funds the work for providers to be able to go in home and specifically work not just with the child, but with the family. Now that is what separates Part C, early intervention, from Part B of IDEA, which Part B speaks to school-age children who are in that system from age 3 through 21. Now this is the difference. Part C, early intervention, is very family focused and very developmental focused. Okay. Whereas Part B, age 3 through 21, is very much child focused. Okay. And we can talk a little bit when you're ready about the differences that is when you have a system that focuses more on the family, and you have to have children transition from that system that focuses more on the child.
Okay. All right. So that's EI, right?
Yes.
And that's in the state of Illinois. right
Yes.
now. Okay. And then could you tell us a little bit, because see, you are dually credentialed, and I was trying to get that, but I have a couple of hiccups, and we'll talk about those when I come to one of the mentoring sessions.
Yes.
So could you tell us that what is developmental therapy, and what is your role as a developmental therapist? Because you are dually credentialed as a developmental therapist as well as a BCBA in the EI system.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, I am. Okay, let's talk about this developmental therapy piece. Developmental therapy, first and foremost, they become a part of the system and a part of the child's life through the assessment piece. Mm-hmm. And developmental therapists, they perform what's called a global assessment and early intervention, meaning unlike the OT or the PT who really addresses and assesses a very specific domain, developmental therapists address all 5 of the core domains, which would be cognition, communication, gross motor, fine motor, social emotional, and self-help or adaptive skills. As a developmental therapist, I'm coming in and assessing all of those things and developing intervention for all of those different domains.
Okay. And then how many hours are you giving the child per week?
Per week, the child based in that system is going to get 1 hour of direct service per week. And then providers are also authorized for about an hour a month to engage in what's called IFSP development, individual family service plan development, with either the parents or the family.
Okay.
The parents or the other professionals.
All right. Okay. And then what is the model of early intervention for ABA?
Okay, it's a little different than what we're used to with ABA and as board certified behavior analysts. In this model, because early intervention is very, again, I'm going back to that word, it's very family focused. Okay, so the treatment model is not geared towards the child alone. In this model within early intervention, ABA is going to very much look like me as the provider going in to coach the parents, coaching them on how they can change their environment, coaching them on paying attention to what is reinforcing to their child, coaching them to identify triggers of challenging behavior. So within early intervention, my role is to really empower the parents.
Okay.
So it could, I do some direct service, but the end goal is for me to have the parents, for me to model it to the parents, and then to have them transfer the stimulus control from me to them.
Okay. Okay. So now, very important question, because this is where I think this is where I am going towards, because as you know, and you are supervising and you are a part of our group for BASES, you know, we're very thankful for that because in this pandemic, you've really helped us.
Oh, I am so excited and thrilled to be a part of BASES. Mm-hmm. Every time I interact with you and your team, I learn so much about the team process and your leadership style. So thank you for that opportunity.
Oh, I really appreciate that. And, you know, I just wanted to say that there was a time that, you know, we were really, really struggling because we wanted people to like chip in and help with the online sessions. And, you know, you've really helped us being there. Just being there has been so, I think our staff feels so much appreciated and so much like they don't ask, but they know somebody is watching them right now, so they feel so supported. So, you know, thank you so much for doing that in that group. But
you are welcome.
Yeah, but I think that what we are doing right now is we're trying to train the parents.
Yes.
And with the telehealth sessions, what's happened is that parents have become empowered to work with the children more.
Yes.
In Pakistan also, we have a girl we have somebody in Australia that we work with. We have a kid in England that we work with, Pakistan, Dubai, um, and in Abu Dhabi. So we have kids like all over, and then basically the same thing we're doing is the same thing, but the parents are working with the children, and we're modeling and training the parents to work. So it's kind of the similar thing, but the only difference is that over here we are looking at kids from 0 to 3. Over there the kids are like older than 3.
Yes.
But I think that this is the only way we can do it. So I just wanted you to talk about that, how important is the role of parents
Yeah,
in this
absolutely.
model or anywhere we go, like with any kind of intervention.
Absolutely. I want to share with you some information that was actually shared at the last ILABA conference,
Mm-hmm.
the last Illinois Association of Behavior Analysis annual conference.
Mm-hmm.
There was a speaker there. Her name was Dr. Rachel Taylor.
Yes.
And you remember her?
Yes, we took it together.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me tell you what she brought up. And she actually has some videos that speak to it on YouTube. She talked about the whole concept of ABA 24/7. And she broke that down. She talked about ABA way back when really Lovas introduced this 40-hour per week model.
Yeah.
She talked about the history of how that developed. And that 40 hours per week was really developed because that's what fit the parents' work week. The parents were away for 40 hours, so that became the gold standard for the number of ABA hours a child should get. And over the years, what has happened is ABA is very much turned into the ABA that the child is getting at the table or in the cubicle or at the desk or in the clinic. However, the original intent was for ABA principles, for the provider to take those principles, give them to the family, and the family should really be trained to implement those principles 24/7. Because if ABA is only happening in the cubicle, at the table, at the clinic, then we're not getting the most out of that time. Parents truly are the child's first teacher, and they are the most meaningful teacher. So all of us within the field have to get into the practice of empowering the parents, because both of us work with adults as well as children. And we know that if we don't train the parents, train the caregivers, that the interventions are not going to be as powerful.
Right.
So that's the bulk of it is the parents are truly the first teachers. The parents are with the children most of the time.
Yeah.
So we have to structure our interventions and plan to help the child generalize across different people, different times of day, different settings, because until they can do those things, they haven't really mastered the skill.
Right. And that's the mastery criteria that we put into place.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's the bulk of it is parents are with the child more than we are. Mm-hmm. So it's very important that we train the parents to carry out, do whatever we're doing. So in a lot of my work, I've come across the therapist coming in and being able to do all sorts of wonderful things. And that truly is wonderful, but that's not our work.
Yeah.
You know, coming in and getting the child to do what we want them to do, the work really is, we want the parents to be able to do that.
Yeah. And come to think of it, we were not ready for the pandemic, right? So like I had a talk with a parent this morning, and the same thing we talked was that I don't think we had our kids ready for this, because if we had our kids ready for this, our kids and the families would have been ready for it, because the kids wouldn't have regressed, right?
Yes.
they would have maintained. Now when I see kids regressing, it kind of bothers me, because now I'm like, okay, we need a better plan in place. Now I don't think we had this planning, and I think now we need to plan, because anything can happen. Parents need to be trained, parents need to be using the same principles, so that in future, if anything like this happens, our kids don't regress.
That's, it has been such a learning experience for all of us.
Yeah.
For the schools, for us in private practice. Hindsight is 2020. And I think moving forward, we know this is a possibility. Best believe we will be prepared next time. But in this situation, there has been some gifts, because it's opening our eyes to more of what we need to do to best serve children and families.
Yeah. Agreed. Yes, so it takes us away from the conventional ABA and puts us more into the naturalistic settings and those contingencies, that maintain our behavior over time.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. And I think it's almost we're reverting back to what the original intent of the program was.
Yeah.
That's what it was. And again, all of us are under behavioral contingencies, and in the field, as practitioners, our behaviors have been shaped really by what's been going on in the field. So now all of this, I think, is pushing us into in a very positive direction.
Yeah. I think that we have shaped up our behavior over the last couple of weeks, and
yes.
And so we learn and we keep on evolving. It's a part of the natural environment, it's a part of our evolution. So that's how we are born.
That's right.
Okay, one question that I have for you is that, could you give us any tips and tricks for developing prerequisite skills? Because I know that some of our kids, they don't have the prerequisite skills, which are eye contact and, just the attention, the focus, just the sitting tolerance, things like that.
Absolutely. I can share with you what my go-to is when I'm working with the very young children. And when I say young, I'm saying the children who are anywhere from 2 to 6 or 7 years old.
Uh-huh.
One of the things that I've learned to do, and is critical, is that pairing. I cannot tell you how many times I have walked into sessions and the child, because of a past experience, as soon as the therapist walks in the door, the child starts to cry. And what is that going to do? That's going to turn the child off. That's going to turn the parent off. So first things first, put in some sufficient pairing activities. And what I mean by that is the therapist coming in and just having fun with the child, spending a few weeks making therapy fun. Mm-hmm. And that's going to be different for every child. For some kids, I had a little 2-year-old and she was diagnosed with autism. Just throwing a block up in the air and letting it land, it was hilarious to her. But I kept doing it and I kept shaping it up, and that became her reinforcer. But what I did was, I wasn't going to go in there and have her, put coins in the pig. That wasn't meaningful to her. That wasn't a meaningful activity. Yeah. But I started using what was reinforcing to her to get her to engage in some of those less preferred activities. So first thing, sufficiently pair. And what you do when you do that, you're going to create an environment that's going to be reinforcing for the child. And guess what? Because we know early intervention is not just child focused. We got to remember the parent. Exactly. When a parent sees their child having fun, what is that going to do to them? That's how we get buy-in for the process. When that parent knows, oh, the therapist is here and they're going to come in and my baby is going to have some fun, then you're going to get parents who are more likely to engage the same way with their child.
Right.
Let's remember too, sometimes when we have our babies, especially our young ones who are on the spectrum, there could be some disruption in attachment. And sometimes the parents may not even know how to engage their child. So when we come in and say, okay, let's just do what makes them happy for a little while, that is a huge gift to a parent who may have had a child who is not very reciprocal, and they don't even know what makes the child happy. So that's my first tip, is sufficiently pair therapy with positive experiences.
And you're so correct, because like I was talking to the therapist on last week, and we had the same issue where, the therapist was like, I'm still pairing, and I said, that's okay. I had a child, my first case that I started with my BCBA, I paired for 2 months because that kid was a higher functioning kid with autism. And no matter what you do, and now I can understand it better because I have a kid who's the same age,
Yes.
a boy who's growing up, and, he was a typical, a high functioning kid. And it was hard to pair with him because all the reinforcement was in front of him. So, and then another thing is that reinforcement is not a toy, or reinforcement is you. So he should have fun through you, right?
That's
So
right.
you have to make yourself so fun and exciting with the objects that he can have, because you need to have that control over that child's instruction. Then you have to transfer it to the parents.
That's it. That is the key. That is so critical when you're working with the young, even with the older children, but more specifically with the younger children, is using parent to develop that rapport, to get parent buy-in. Then you set the foundation for effective intervention. That's when, if you're pairing and that child becomes interested, then you start developing those attending skills.
Right. And would you like to, are there any specific tools or assessments that you would like to, so we use ABLES, we use EVMAP, PEAK is out there. We haven't really used it because it's a little complicated for our staff right now.
Yes.
It's complicated for us, so I don't want to implement it over there. But anything else that you have that is a little bit more user friendly, would you like to recommend? If you have any recommendations.
Sure. As far as assessments, a global developmental assessment that I would recommend is called the Hawaii Early Learning Profile. In fact, I will make sure I get you a copy of that. Ooh. That's a good one when it comes to just overall development.
Okay.
I've given it to parents and have them go over it because it kind of outlines where the child should be in each domain.
Okay. All right.
And I think it's a powerful tool because it is user friendly, and more than that, it's parent friendly.
Okay, cool. That would be good. And I was also looking that, the tools that are being used in EI are a little bit different than the ones that we use as a BCBA. Yes. So I think that would be a really good tool. And I also like the EI. So when I do my reports, I usually bring like a norm-based reference anyways, because a lot of the parents, they ask questions that, where is the child as per typically developing? So in order to get that norm-based equivalence, I get like, okay, a 5-year-old should be doing this, and your child is doing this as per the criterion based, so, okay, we need to fix this gap, right? But we can't fix it because there is no cure, but, we can try to, with therapy, make it better. So I think that tool would really help us out a lot. And, I think that I'll definitely take a copy of that. And of course, you're going to have to train me on it.
Of course. And that's when I'm doing the developmental therapy. That's the tool I use. I've used it for years. It's within early intervention in Illinois. That's the gold standard right now for developmental assessments. Another reason I like it is because as far as toys to be used, you can use the child's own toys.
See, that's really cool.
It is. When you can use the child's toys, I think you get a better read.
Yes,
on
yes.
what the child can do.
And we have to look into, the surroundings that the child is in. Also, we have to
Yes.
see that what are the resources available for the child. So I think that's a really, really good tool. So
Yes.
yeah, that
Yes.
was
I will make sure that gets to you.
okay. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your time and your effort.
Okay.
We have a lot more webinars together we're going to do, and thank you for
You are
your
welcome.
knowledge. And we also would like to tell the audience that we're going to be writing a book together soon.
Yeah, I mean, can you imagine all of our years of experience?
Yeah.
What it's going to be phenomenal. And before we close, let me say this again. I am so just thrilled to be working with you. It has been a true honor to work with you and your team at Basis.